Found two buffalo, everybody. They're just in front of us. A very strange arrangement. Looks like one cow and one calf. Now there's another herd of buffalo making its way towards these clearings. Why this lot have been separated from the others, I do not know. We'll just wait here and see, and we're also going to scan the clearings, of course, and see what's coming. Maybe the cheetah are lurking about here in the shade. Doesn't seem to be anyone else here, which is marvellous. Oh, one cow and one calf. How they've become separated is probably due to some kind of predator activity. And I know that there is a lion kill, I think on Cheetah where they killed a buffalo. Maybe this is remnants of the herd that was scattered to the wind by the marauding cats. See, they're looking at us deeply suspiciously. David, I'm not looking at them, everyone, I'm scanning the clearings. Did I hear her making some dung? A plop? Negative, something plopped. I wonder what it was. Anyway, there they go, running off through the clearings. So we'll take a little gentle turn towards the east. That's to the left-hand side of your screen. And let's see what we can find in the clearings here. We can find one crowned lapwing already. Oh, ostrich, running, high speed. Davey, far end of the clearing there. Charging across. That's a female in front. Is that the male behind? No, there's another one behind them, Davey. Yeah, that's the male, I think. Is it? Looked to be both female. There was another one herring up behind them. Oh, there he is. He's in front there. In fact, there are three there. You know what? Those are two young males. I think those are two young males. Those are the three behind there. And I think they're young males. If you see the white underneath their wings, I don't think the females have that. No, they do. This is brilliant. They're all displaying at each other. Let's go a bit closer and we'll just keep an eye on what they're doing. But that's, I mean, that's a huge group of ostriches. That's a large wobble, as they say. Oh, I think they were running. I see another vehicle there. Perhaps they were running from them. Unless that vehicle is in some sort of predator sighting that I don't know about. Which is entirely possible, given the state of the radios. But that's a big group. Three of females and the male and his lot off in the clearings. Yeah, they're coming sort of back this way. I think this is absolutely brilliant. Yeah, let's go up here. We'll get a nice view with this huge long lens. Now I've got to tell you, those things were probably what, Dave? 200 meters, 250 meters from us when we used the super zoom lens. That's about, it's almost 1,000 feet. So the camera is fantastic. This is awesome. Hang on a sec. Let's head up that way. We'll just get an update from this vehicle that we're going past now and see if there isn't some kind of an interesting thing that they're able to tell us. Good afternoon. Some substantial birds running across the clearing. Yes, I did.
Very exciting.
Very exciting. Not small, those fellows.
No, it looks like there's in fact 5.
Yes. I think they're 6.
6?
Yeah.
Oh God.
A large
How are they running, James?
A large wobble of ostriches. I have no idea. I'll go and find out. I'll let you know. Yes. Have you seen anything of late?
Chilling.
Chilling. Okay.
I was trying to you with Madura and Gala around.
Okay.
No luck.
Cool.
You know.
See you later. So that was Sean, everyone, from Arathusa, and he's just saying he's driving around here hoping, a bit like us, to see a male lion or perhaps a cheetah. Now, here are our ostriches scattered to the wind. Now, James Richard, do you want to know how the smells of the bush differ on Cheetah Plains compared with, say, Djuma? Not one bit. They really don't smell, it doesn't smell at all different, James. And that's because, I mean, it's pretty much the same place. I know the clearings are different sort of vegetation, but I suppose there might be, if we're sitting in the clearings here, there might be slightly less of a smell of that drying leaf litter that we get in the woodlands. But it's no different really from the smell that we'd get in a clearing on, say, Djuma or Arathusa. This is fantastic. I don't know why they were running around. So how many we got there? I think we've got 6. 7. Now, let's see if anyone agrees with me. I'm beginning to think that the 4 on the left hand side, that's our normal wobble of male, and 3 females. No, the others look to be all females. I thought for a second they might be young males, but I don't think they are. I think that male has just got his work cut out from him now. Look at them opening their wings. They're the most incongruous looking creatures. And if you see them displaying at each other, it's the most ridiculous thing in the world. They sort of twist their wings around in like propellers. And clearly there's a level of distress here. Maybe his 3 wives think that he's about to take another 3, which of course he will do, absolutely, if he can. Fantastic sighting. They are so funny. I don't know why they're so funny, but they are. I guess it's the absolute look of complete surprise they have on their faces most of the time. And if they relax, their tails are down. And you can see the tail of the one going up and down there. You see how their feathers are very different from a bird that flies feathers. They're not held together, but the barbs of each feather are not individually held together by the velcro like barbicels and barbules. So the feathers are almost take on the appearance of hair, which they are not, of course, standard issue feathers those. But they don't stick together because they don't fly, and so they don't have to have the same level of care administered to them, because of course they are not flying birds. Absolutely amazing. Oh yes, good idea, James Dungan. You want to see an ostrich track one day. They are fascinating tracks. It looks like 2 fairly large sausages side by side. They've only got 2 toes. Herd of buffalo now running towards us. Here they come, Davy, there they are. They're coming out of the bush now. Look at this. Look at the dust. I don't know why they're running. Maybe there's a lion in there. Paul, you're interested in whether ostriches are territorial or not. No, they're not. They are, I think, fairly nomadic. Look at the dust there. I don't know. Let's just keep an eye on there, everyone. And I mean, it's quite possible there's a lion in there. something spooked them and they ran. And I know, you remember those 3 lionesses and the 2 males that were on that buffalo kill the other day? They don't know where those 3 lionesses went. That's fascinating. They're now looking at us. It's so great having this camera where we can see so much from such a vast distance away. The ostriches continue to lurk in the clearing here. I don't think we should move. I think we should stay right here. In fact, I do think we should move. I think we should go a little bit closer to the buffalo. Oh no, hang on. Look at the ostriches. One of the big females is chasing these other ones away. Now, you do not want to get in the way of an angry ostrich. They can be utterly terrifying. As the golden light of the late afternoon descends on the magnificent plains of Cheetah. Oh, Gail, what a lovely question. You say, does anything just run ever for the sake of it, for the joy of running? Youngsters do, certainly. Young animals do in much the same way that young children do. Sometimes you see a herd of animals just kind of running around the place. Buffalo, I've never seen them do that. I've certainly never seen a leopard or a lion running for fun. Yeah, I'm going to say very few, Gail. I've certainly had that feeling, though, you know, when I mean, I go for a run fairly regularly, but sometimes it's a real sort of effort to make myself do it. And sometimes you just feel that amazing sense of joy and freedom, just when you're not stiff and sore and your mind is clear. And I wonder if animals do the same thing. I don't think many of them do, you know. I mean, imagine being a bird. Imagine how much you'd fly for fun. Unless you're an ostrich, of course, in which case you cannot fly. Can you, David? No, you cannot. Good. HK, an interesting one from you. What makes ostriches unable to fly? Well, from a purely practical point of view, their mass, they're very heavy, up to 100 kilos for a big male. Secondly, their wings are not designed for flight. You can see they're designed almost exclusively for warmth and for display. So their feathers are not flight feathers. So the flight feathers on a bird are long. Their wings are much longer than an ostrich's wings. And they are designed differently to, like an aerofoil. They don't allow air through them. Whereas it would be totally impossible for an ostrich to do that. Ooh, Sean has spotted a Temminck's courser, which is a very interesting bird that some of you will not have. Where is it, Seamus? Can you see it? Sean, there it is. There it is running there, and you've seen one with Steph. There are 2 back there. Sorry, I don't want to reverse. You see them there, Dave? Sorry, I don't want to reverse and chase them off. That's fantastic. Wow, that's great. Look at that. Beautiful birds. Oh, that's great. Well done, Sean. How cool is that, everyone? The Temminck's courser. Temminck, some naturalist after whom these birds were named. That is fantastic. And see our shadows there. The shadows are getting long as the day progresses. Now these buffalo have formed up in a phalanx in front of us. And it's a sort of defensive phalanx, if you like. I don't know what's caused their consternation or what's chased them out of the woodland there. Maybe a lion. They ain't coming any closer to us. That said, they don't seem to be particularly panicked anymore, and there were certainly no distress calls. It's all happening here on Cheetah Plains. Now, back to the question of why ostriches can't fly. Evolution-wise, they can't fly because they've lost the ability to fly because they've moved into a different niche. So I don't know too much about the history of their evolution, but they obviously occupy a niche that other animals don't occupy. They eat they eat fresh sort of shoots, so they'll eat forbs and buds and possibly the odd bit of fruit that very few birds are able to eat. And with their size, they haven't had to be able to. So they've, instead of having flight as a defensive mechanism, they've developed size. And so I think that's why they don't fly. Let's go back across to Jamie. She is back with the hyenas.
For the moment, just hyena singular, no plural about. It's just Gwen, still sitting at the entrance to the den. I must say the Mvubu Road den definitely had an advantage over the Gallagher shortcut den in that it had a far more comfortable spot for the mothers to lie in. And she seems to have found herself the most uncomfortable looking position. Yes, girl, I'm talking about the way that you're lying. Now, you can't really, I don't think you can really gauge it from through the camera, but that wall is probably about 60 degrees, that angle. I mean, I've walked along there, it's really uncomfortable. And she's dangling her head right down over the edge, proving that hyena, just like leopard, can make any position look relatively comfortable, no matter how uncomfortable we would find it if we were in their place. We're just going to sit here nice and quietly and wait to see if the cubs come out. We've spoken about the curious nature of Gwen's lineage, something that I didn't know about, and the fact that she is still, however, a lower ranking hyena than the other three that we've watched over the last few months at the den. We have a question about whether or not a hyena can actually rise several ranks up or down. And the answer is absolutely yes, they can. And in fact, there's sometimes, apparently, there are what's known as coups in a hyena clan, where one line of females actually rise up and take over dominance and push the sort of the higher ranking females down to a lower rank. It's more complex than that, Donna, and I know I haven't fully explained exactly how it works, and that's because I don't think we know exactly how it works. Spoke about the fact that the different animals have different characters, some have more dominance behavior than others, and that might play a role as well, because you might get a sub-ranking female, so a low-ranking female that's born with plenty of testosterone, grows up to be exceptionally large, although the cub survival rate of lower-ranking females is lower than that of the matriarch, and they actually don't have as much access to food in the same way the matriarch or the higher-ranking females do. But that being said, there's always the possibility. Oh, such a happy stretch. There's always a possibility of a character being born in that's actually capable of fighting for her place in a clan. Now, I think at this stage, the fact that we've come here and the den is still so incredibly quiet apart from Gwen suggests to me that the rest of the hyena clan have moved off. So, another big yawn showing us those yellowed teeth of hers. Might be getting up to call her cubs. Let's just watch. Whoopsie, she nearly fell into the den. I'm going to be quiet so you can hear this. Interesting. She's not calling. Or if she is, it's too soft for me to hear. Come on, little cubs. Waiting with bated breath. I don't want to speak too much in case we can hear her calling. I can't yet. Here we go. Yes! Come on. Come on, little ones. How'd she come? Not sure if you guys saw the brief glimpse of the little cub. She's licking it now. There's an ear. Come on, little ones. It's okay. It's okay. Mama's giving them a very thorough bath. This will be my second glimpse of her new cubs. Huh. Big shake. There we go, there we go. Hello, little one. Yes, we saw you. It's okay. It's okay. Come on. Ah. Okay, let's wait and see if they come around the back for a drink. Hey girl, you're beautiful, but we did actually come to see your cubs as well, and you put yourself... Oh, there we go, there we go. Hello. Oh my word, they've grown so much. You can just hear them squealing. Hello. Ah. Oh, I knew that there were two, but this is the first time I've seen them both together. Showing the usual level of coordination. If you're not careful, little one, you're going to fall off Mom completely and back into the den. Competing over access to nipples. She does have two, and they will each find their place, but what often happens is the first cub to arrive just takes the top one, and the second cub has to try and sort of nuzzle in underneath to get to the one further away, and this one's not having much success. Needle point little teeth we saw there with the yawn. Oh, this is awesome. Mom, I can't get in here, so I'm just going to stand on you. Starting to squeal, to beg. Definitely the smaller of the two, I would say. Just trying to gauge. I'm seeing both of them out, which probably means we're looking at the male, but not necessarily. Might just be the slightly weaker of the two. Oh, shame, it's so frustrated. Yes, come on. There's two of you. How awesome is this? Oof. I feel for her with those sharp little cub teeth. Cannot be comfortable, and they're not exactly gentle on her. It's gonna fall off any second now. It really doesn't look like the most stable suckling position. Ooh, that's interesting. She's between hyena siblings. That's the little one, probably a little male. Oh, look at that little foot. I'll have to wait his turn. Ah, maybe that's a better angle. And she just looks the picture of contentment. Ooh. I think this might be the most we've seen them fight over access to milk at this age. It certainly is for me, in terms of watching the hyena clan at Djuma. I wonder if we don't have two same-sex individuals. The competition within hyena cubs tends to be at its fiercest when they are either both females or both males. And that's because in a male-female divide, the male automatically takes a subservient role. And that was a very conclusive victory that we just saw there. There's a good chance we've got, I don't know, it's all conjecture at this point, but there's a chance we've got two females. It's alright, little one, come on. Back you come. While these two battle it out, apparently James has got an extraordinary view on Cheetah Plains.
Everyone, how cool is this? Look at that. Buffalo and ostrich in one shot. The buffalo deeply confused by these enormous birds. They have experience only of oxpeckers. They can't believe that there are birds this big. They're terrified that they're about to come and try and pick the ticks from them. That, of course, is absolute nonsense. But it is a wonderful, wonderful sight here. Now, I'm telling you, those three are juveniles, and every time they get close enough, one of the big females starts to demonstrate, and they get a little bit scared and they move away. There, that one. Every time that one looks like she might, she seems to be wanting to try and sort of have at the youngsters. Isn't this a fun sighting? Buffalo can't believe it. I think the buffalo are also slightly scandalized by our presence here. They don't really know what we are doing either. Didn't find anything that was chasing them, and Sean, who spotted the Temming's courser, has gone round the other side. And now the buffalo is starting to move. David, you want the sun now? Or you? Yes. David has been giving me nonce uphill about my vehicle positioning all day. There you are. Now you film the sun like I told you to earlier. He said the sun was too bright. Well, of course it was. It's the sun. Wonderful sight. Very nice, David. Kirsten thinks that's wonderful. Wait till you see my photograph. It really is quite spectacular. Gee whiz. This place has delivered to us the last few afternoons, I must say. Yeah, I think those are three juveniles, and they're probably being tossed out of the little wobble. In case you're wondering why I'm saying wobble the whole time, apparently that is what a group of ostriches is called. I think it's absolute nonsense. I just called it a flock, but it's quite fun to say the word wobble. And apparently a pride as well. Well, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of these collective nouns, especially as they're largely not biological terms. Let's go and have another look at these beefies. And while we look at the beefies, apparently they're not nearly as entertaining as the wonderful hyena cubs you're having a look at.
definitely this is a good way to end off a day that almost looked as though it was going to start out on a bad note and then didn't. An incredibly happy moment. Both of them have managed to get access, but just listen to the sounds they're making. Just the softest of squeaks. Little contented groaning sounds every now and again, but mostly niggling at each other. Plonked back down. Whoops! I'm back! I'm fine. Didn't hurt at all, I swear. Yo! There's a very, very clear display of dominance from this little one, with the bald patch on her back. Let's just watch how this plays out. It's really fascinating. Definitely a lot of competition, more than we saw with the December twins at least, and I think also with the January twins of Madams. Of course, at this age they are absolutely adorable. They look totally different to the adults. A lot of people have compared them to little bear cubs, which I can totally understand. I can definitely see what you mean there. But they will start getting their spots, and Laurie, you were wondering when they get their spots. The answer is in around the sort of second or third month that we start to see the spots coming through. So these cubs are probably older than we think they are. When did we found that den just before the Father's Day specials, so around the 10th of June, where we had the first, or not quite, but maybe that was around where we had the first viewing of them. They were probably a couple of weeks old at that point, although that's a matter for some debate. Brent felt as though they were about 10 days old or so. Either way, these cubs are at least a month and a half. So by the time they're about 2.5 months old, you'll start to see the spots coming through. Interesting thing about hyena cub skirmishes, as we're seeing now, is that mom doesn't intervene in any way. It's up to her babies to sort themselves out. And they're doing so very noisily. This is awesome. This must be one of the best sightings we've had of these little cubs so far. And the wonderful thing about it is that it just gets better from here, because they get more and more secure, and they get braver and braver and more curious, and they start to investigate the surroundings of their den. And that to me is one of the most incredible times to get to know a little hyena cub. Since for now our cubs have relaxed, let's go back to James and his incredible view.
Well, we do have an incredible view, everybody, but the beefies have just gone all the way past us. Here they are. They've created a line. I think they're going off towards sort of Mala Mala and the Kruger Park. But there they are. The wind has just come up a little bit as the sun's gone down, and it's coming, like I say, from the east, which is a very unusual wind for us to be having. So tomorrow's weather is going to be fascinating to behold. I'm so glad you've had some time with those cubs. Really good stuff to have more hyena cubs, and I hope she doesn't take them off to the central den, wherever that may be, probably on Simbambili. I hope she doesn't take them off too soon. I think that's just wonderful, don't you? Very cool. And while you were gone, I was taking a picture or two of them, but I was doing it from an unusual angle, wasn't I, David? Yes, I was. I was doing it from underneath the car, and I've taken a rank average photograph, which I will show you. But just understand, everybody, that in showing you, I am exposing it to David, of course, and David is going to take it to pieces. There it is. I was lying underneath the car when I took that. It was such fun, and the buffalo didn't even notice. The angle is, I suppose, quite interesting. And that's all we're going to say about that. David will tell me privately how awful it is. Okay, let's move on from here and see what we can find. The ostriches have gone to Mala Mala for the night. We're going to go back up towards those clearings up in the north there. The beefies are heading into the woodland of the safety of the Kruger National Park. I don't know why it's no safer than it is here for them. Do wonder what chased them out of the bushes there. I see some elephants herring across the plains there. I'll just stop so you can see them. I think they're probably going to have some water at the dam. Can you see them, Dave? There they go. Isn't that a nice sight? That's the kind of sight, everybody, where you take a deep breath in. You smell the ocimum or the wild aniseed in your nostrils. And you take in the breeze coming from the east. Slightly, I suppose it must be said, tainted with the sea, to be honest, but very, very, very slightly. And then you watch elephants walking to have their evening drink. And suddenly you feel all is right with the world. And as it is right with the world here, so it is at the hyena den on Gallagher Shortcut.
In fact, it probably doesn't get better than this. In watching two relatively new arrivals to the hyena clan find their place in the world. And since little one couldn't really get access to milk, it decided that chewing on Mom's toe was the best way forward, or now chewing on Mom's leg. Very curious little things, hyena cubs, and most of that exploration is done with teeth. Oh, I'm going to nibble on Mom's leg now. Because I can, and also because I'm teething, and that helps. But mostly just because I want to bite things. She even picked her leg up there for a moment. It's incredible how tolerant these hyena mothers are. She's trying to move them away, whilst not dislodging the cub that's suckling at the same time. Hyenas, by the way, the hyena cubs always come up with these little bald spots that you can see on the back of this one's neck and around the back. Now, it might be some manifestation of a minor skin disease or a fungal infection, because they are pretty sedentary initially. And in a den type environment, you can imagine that breeds breeds problems. But it could also be scars from where they've been fighting each other. Those teeth are ready to go from very early on. Now, for us as human beings to watch a sort of a sibling unfairness is very difficult to witness, and as for those of you who are mothers with siblings, or you have siblings yourself, you know that sort of mothers usually intervene. Renee would like to know why she doesn't. And the answer is because, of course, they don't think like us. And she can't be here the whole time, so there's not really any point to her trying to sort out their sibling rivalry when they'll just do it as soon as she's left. It's part of the natural order of things, and she knows instinctively that it will strengthen them. It's almost a sort of a kill or cure solution. The one will get stronger, or the one will get weaker, and possibly not even survive, but it's not really up to her to try and make things fair. Now, hyenas don't really have a concept of fairness. They only know hierarchy and dominance. So she's not going to intervene in any way. She'll let them sort out their battles themselves. Come on, little ones, one last glimpse before we run out of light. Another jolly good clean after a feed. Now, what's interesting about this is the same thing that Ellen Fowler has picked up, and welcome Ellen as always. You're interested in the fact that she has this place all to herself, and could it be the possible relationship to Madam? Ellen, it's a really good point. It's one I've been pondering myself. I'm trying to decide if she decided to do this. In other words, when the rest of the clan moved off, did she decide to choose a different den site to them? Or is there another reason behind it? I don't think it's a rank thing. I don't think she pulled rank and sort of got rid of the other hyenas, although her relationship to Madam is really fascinating. I think it's more that she's actually deliberately moved away from the rest of the clan to this den site, and I think she's done that because she's a low-ranking female, and also because of the age difference between her babies and, for example, the January twins right up until December and November, which would be, you know how there's all kinds of rough housing, the way that hyena plays, or the ways that hyena plays. No, start that whole sentence again. I couldn't get those words out. My brain's still on holiday. Hyena cubs play very roughly with each other. There we go. And there's always the possibility of her cub being injured by another one. And I've seen it happen. And the difficulty is because she's low ranking, she can't intervene. So I've seen situations before where the cubs of a higher ranking female have dragged younger cubs around by their ears, with the younger cubs squealing, and the poor anxious mom attempting to protect them, only to be put in her place by the higher ranking mother. So I think she knows that, and I think she's trying to keep them out of harm's way as much as possible. Hello? Oh, you've got such naughty faces at this age. Cub, or any of the other baby animals actually, regardless of species, we do not shine a spotlight or a light on them. We just don't want to add an extra level of distraction, especially at this small age where their instincts aren't as sharp as the adults and their senses not quite as honed in terms of potential threats. So we don't want to add an additional threat to them, albeit indirectly through shining lights on them. So I think at this point, actually, I think they've gone to bed again. So they've timed that beautifully. I think at this point it's time for us to say goodnight. And never fear, I think she's going to stay here for a while, provided the rest of the clan doesn't come back. So I think we have many exciting months to look forward to with these two little bundles of joy. So while we make our way out of the den site, let's go back over to James, find out what his plans for the rest of the evening are.
I'm not sure I want to share my plans for the rest of the evening with you all. You might be scandalized. For the rest of the drive, however, I will be here. Well, we're going to spend another 10 minutes or so on Cheetah Plains before we head back towards Djuma. There are some wildebeest, and they are grazing pleasantly across the open areas of Nkoro. I always like the name Nkoro because it means hornbill, you know, and everybody names their their lodges after the Big Five: Nyati Lodge, Cheetah Plains, Lion Sands. These guys have named their lodge after the humble hornbill. I think that's very good. David, would you call your lodge Blue Waxbill Lodge, for example?
I don't think
I think I would. I think I definitely would. Or Green-Winged Pytilia Camp. Or Muntengu Camp. There we go. That's a much better one. Muntengu Camp, that would be Forked-tailed Drongo Camp. And like so many of the Shangaan words for birds, Nkoro is a onomatopoeic word. Onomatopoeic. Say that, David. Onomatopoeic. And that's because a hornbill goes Nkoro, 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 Nkoro. David, stop laughing. You're making the vehicle shake. People are going to get seasick. And just to give you an idea, that picture that you're looking at, and I know I say this a lot, but is much brighter than the one we're looking at with our naked eye. We are boosting the light signal slightly, and that's so that we don't have to shine a light on those wildebeest. I think they'll probably spend most of the evening out here. There's a little bit of grass left, and these are sodic clearing, so there's quite a lot of sodium in the soil. That makes the grasses quite nutritious. In fact, the soil is quite toxic to many plants, but of course once it's been filtered through their root systems and their leaves, very nutritious for the grazers that want to come through here and eat them. Hello, Roger in Tampa. Another astute question from you. You want to know the wildebeest in the Kruger National Park migrate. Roger, they don't, and they used to. And the reason they don't anymore is very simply, because of artificial water provision. So in the Sabi Sands, they never have to move far for water. What they used to do, however, was go down to the perennial rivers of the Sabi Sand during the winter time, and they would drink there and graze around there, and then during the summer they'd head up north, apparently in their thousands, up towards the Timbavati and the Timbavati River, which used to flow just during for a little while during the summer, and it would have pans along the banks, and that's what they used to do. But now, of course, with tourism, they've put dams all over the place and water holes everywhere, and that means that animals don't migrate anymore. And I think there used to be a huge number of even elephant migrations, Roger, and that was before the advent of villages on the western boundary of the Kruger Park. The elephants used to go off towards the mountains to spend much of the winter, and I think you'll find that before there were too many people in here, which was not too long ago, probably about 200 years ago, you'd find that there were large migrations of animals east-west to the mountains up into the Highveld, which is the highlands for the winter time, and then back down here for the summer when the rains came. That's a lovely picture. It's a very subtly coloured picture, David. Don't you think? Light, gentle greens, tinge of gold or flax on the grass, brown, black wildebeest. Very pleasant. I must say it's got one of those feelings about it this evening. Very pleasant indeed, and it might have something to do with that slightly eerie easterly wind. Right, you say you're interested in those trees there on the eastern horizon, or not the eastern horizon, on the horizon that we can see, the tallest ones. Right, you said there are a few. Most of them are knobthorns. There's a marula there on the left-hand side of your screen. Far left is a knobthorn, and then that sort of scraggly one in the middle, I think, is a marula. I'm just going to look with my binoculars. Yeah, it's a marula, that big one. It's still got leaves on it. So largely the knobthorns that have all lost their leaves and much of their bark, of course, because of the elephants. Very pleasant little sighting. Alright, David, I think we should press on from here, see if we can't find a leopard on our way out of Cheetah Plains. Hope you enjoyed those cubs. I must say I'm quite jealous. Only quite jealous, because one mustn't be jealous when one has had the incredible luck we did with Karula yesterday and the day before that. We'll just take the spotlight out and see what we can spot. There were leopard tracks apparently around here somewhere this morning, but there's certainly nothing worth tracking at the moment. We might just be lucky and bump into something. I'm trying to decide on a route. I know what we'll do. We'll go back past 3 in a row pan and just see if something else hasn't popped out of the woodland to have a drink there. Sir Duck. Howard, I think the chances of finding new mammals here are almost none. It's possible that a new, say, rodent or bat species could be discovered here, but in terms of mammals, no, I don't think so. At least large mammals, definitely not. But in terms of invertebrates, now remember that's also animals. Invertebrates being insects and arachnids and mollusks and crustaceans and all those sorts of things. Well then, yes, I think it would be possible that there are plenty of species out here that have not been discovered yet or not been described. Many of which have probably been described by local people, but that science has yet to find and discover. And indeed many of those will go extinct before they're ever described, which in some senses is quite nice, as long as their extinction isn't caused by human beings. It's quite nice to think of things coming into being almost and then disappearing from the earth without us ever having known about it. I think there's something quite nice about that. But Howard, no. Birds and mammals, probably not, that we'll find another one out here that we haven't seen yet. They do find mammals sort of every few years around the world that no one's ever described before. Normally it's something that you wouldn't really want to cuddle, like a sort of subterranean mole rat with enormous teeth, an extremely wrinkly body, or the odd bird. They do sometimes find birds every so often, especially in the rainforests. And if you were to go up to the Congo Basin, for example, the Central African rainforests, where there are so few people and so few researchers have managed to get in there because the people there tend to like to kill each other all the time, you find that you probably could find the odd species that hasn't been described yet. So we'll just pop around the corner to 3 in a row pans, and I'll keep you updated if we find anything there. But in the meantime, let's go and find out what Jamie's plans for the evening are.
I'm not entirely sure. I feel like sharing my plans for the evening. But I'll tell you as long as you all promise not to tell James. They're actually not anything top secret. We're going to be driving along Impala Road. I'm sort of hoping vaguely that we might catch a glimpse of the baby buffalo as it starts to get dark. I'm still dying to see it now up and about and actually on its feet, because of course we never really, whoopsie daisies. Sorry, girl. You gave me a bit of a surprise there. Completely hidden behind a guarri bush. I think this might actually be the 2 females that we saw many weeks ago playing with each other and racing across the open clearings. And there's something just so spectacularly picturesque about a giraffe at sunset. As she nibbles away on the buffalo thorn. And the longer you look at them, the stranger they become. And for those of you for whom this is your first giraffe on our live safaris, if you have a look at the top of the horns on her head, it's what tells us that this is a female, because she's got hair there. Hello, girl. Sorry, that was not Brian, that was me. I forgot to take my foot off the brake. Look at the incredibly long eyelashes, and she's also giving us the odd view of that incredibly dexterous and nimble tongue as she plucks away delicately at the buffalo thorn leaves. Definitely wouldn't be my choice of dinner, but for a giraffe those thorns, however sharp they may be, pose absolutely no threat whatsoever. But yes, we were talking about her horns. The ossicones, as they're officially termed, they're not horns. They don't grow like antelope horns. But the ossicones in males are much, much thicker and rubbed bald from repeated fighting with each other. So that's one of the easiest ways to tell the difference between a male and a female giraffe. She's absolutely going to town on this buffalo thorn. Doesn't that make for an extraordinary picture? I was telling you a bit about the sighting that we had 3 weeks ago, couple more weeks ago. I watched the young male that was with these females chase them around the clearing, and then they started chasing each other, and then they all went and sort of crowded around one spot where they were going right down as only giraffe can, by spreading their front legs wide apart and bending right down to sniff whatever was on the ground. And I checked afterwards, I couldn't find a single thing there, and it remains a mystery to this day what put them in such a jolly mood. They were playing with each other. There was no aggression. It was just playful. Really does make for a stunning silhouette, and Brian doing a marvellous job dealing with next to no light. In the distance I can just hear elephants trumpeting everywhere. They've had a very upset day, the elephants of Djuma and the surrounding areas. They've been very, very vocal. And it can't even be to do with the wind at the moment, because the wind has almost completely died down. Actually hear her munching away. A beautiful silhouette. And I agree with Roger in Florida. He says, what a great way to end off an evening, and with some giraffe. Well, Roger, the night is not yet over, but I agree with you. Giraffe in the sunset is, for me, the best way to look at giraffe. Unfortunately, our time spent looking at the giraffe is relatively limited, because we're sort of serving as something of a roadblock for the poor vehicle that is trying to come through. We just better pull off the side of the road for them quickly. All my lights off, yes. So our vehicle lights, unlike most safari vehicles have the spotlight and you've got your brights and your dims. Our vehicles light up like veritable Christmas trees, if not more so. And we've had more than one occasion where we've forgotten just how bright our lights truly are and ended up blinding the poor people who are trying to come past. Isn't that an extraordinary view? What is that? If that's a bat, it's an exceptionally large one. Well spotted, Brian. Incredible camera work going on. It's not a bat, it is a bird. Thank you, Jim. I think it was Jim. I couldn't actually see in the dark. And there we go. Beautiful silhouette of the giraffe. A male in this case. Now, Wayne, in Missouri, while we watched them feeding in the sunset in the dusky light, you were wondering if herbivores feed at night. Yes, absolutely they do. Particularly bright full moon nights. They'll alternate between dozing and nibbling away. They don't really have a set bedtime in the same way human beings do, or at least most human beings do. They'll feed throughout the night, and giraffe ultimately will only nap for very, very brief periods of time. They might lie down, particularly on dark nights when they don't really want to run the risk of moving about. They might lie down and settle there and ruminate for a while, but they will feed throughout the night, and all of the herbivores will. They prefer it to do it during full moon nights when there's lots of ambient light around, and usually when it's quite still. It's all a matter of balancing the need for food over the need for survival. Of course, the night is the time of the big cat predators, the lions and the leopards, as well as the hyena. So it must be a little bit scary when darkness falls out here. Not for this giraffe, though. He is perfectly content and looking quite magnificent with his sort of cherry pink background. Then, of course, if you factor in a dead tree, you've got a stunning image. Hold on one moment. There was one alarm calling impala, but I think it was a false alarm. Just taking a moment to absorb the scene. Okay. Well, the night is drawing on. It's time for us to look for other things to show you before the end of the sunset safari. Let's not delay too much longer. Let's head off. Oops. I think I nearly unplugged myself there. Let's try and pop back onto the road. Hello, boy. I'm just going to keep my lights off for now as we go past. And Eric, while we've been enjoying this scene, oh look, he's got a wonky ossicone. Noticed that before. Look at that. Apparently he is familiar to you guys. I'm not sure if that injury is fresh or if it is old. It does often happen with males. We mentioned before about them using their horns as weapons to fight each other. And I would say almost inevitably that's how he broke that ossicone off. And because it is solid bone, that's going to be a permanent disfiguration. That will always be that way. He looks like a hand puppet. I don't know why that thought just struck me. But that's exactly what he looked like.
You've ruined giraffe silhouettes.
I know I have, I'm so sorry. I don't know why, the way he was moving, it was perfect. Sorry everybody, I hope I haven't ruined giraffe silhouettes for everybody out there, because I might have ruined it for myself. Oh no, he really does, I can't unsee it. I can't not see it anymore. Oh, how utterly ridiculous. It's the first time I've ever noticed that. Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. My apologies for that image. You will never be able to scrape that from your mind. A very good hand puppet, I must say. Very good one. Very realistic. That is actually how we do Safari Live. There are no animals here. It is just puppetry. Masterful puppetry. I'm joking, by the way, just for those of you who are new viewers and are very confused by this concept. This is real live safari, live in the middle of Africa. It's just every now and again our brains are grasped by a sense of the absurd. There's more impala alarm calling now. Let's just have one brief look at where they're looking. What's up, guys? Still not frantic enough to be a leopard or a lion close by. Getting there, though. I'm going to go and investigate what's got them so upset. So I shall leave my hand puppet giraffe to his dinner and carry on. While I do, let's find out how James's return journey from Cheetah Plains is panning out.
Well, we're just driving into the most stunning sky at the moment. Hundreds of different colours. And it's just a very lovely warm evening. I mean, this for the middle of winter, this is really astonishingly warm. I've still got my sun hat on as opposed to my woolly cap. And only one jersey. Haven't even got my blankie on my legs. Dave, are you quite warm?
I am.
Good. We saw some elephants on the way out of Cheetah Plains, everybody. They blocked the road for a little while. Then they moved off after pushing over a tree, which was very nasty of them. And now we're heading back. And we are, every time we go through this little drainage line here, which may or may not lose signal, if we go quickly it probably won't. But we keep going past here, looking at the termite mound on which there grows a very vast tambuti tree, mainly because in it we have seen Thandi 3 or 4 times, and she was very pregnant. We think maybe she's got a little den site around there. So we do look quite carefully as we go through here. Now, there are 2 great valleys in this area, of course. The Great Valley of the Mulwati drainage, which we know very well from Djuma, and this one, the Great Valley of the Mulwanini, an equally impressively raging torrent. Both of them, I think, tributaries of the Sand River. They probably become one, in fact, before they hit the Sand River. And I'm going to drive a little bit faster, because I think that will probably help us get through here without breaking up the signal. Kirsten will keep us posted as to whether the signal is leaving. So a bit of an experiment to see if we go quickly through, whether that doesn't help. So far so good. You're still with us. And all around us I can hear... What did she say?
Whoopsie daisy, and it seems as though on his return to Cheetah Plains, or from Cheetah Plains, James has lost his signal very briefly. Oh, we're continuing on into the night now that our silhouettes are over and most of the background light has disappeared, and we're going off in search of some of the more secretive and nocturnal creatures. Just by the way, I followed up with those alarm calling impala. I think a combination of highly strung nerves amongst the adult males just come to the end of their breeding season, combined with another herd of impala making their way towards them, resulted in something of a little bit of confusion, and that's why they were alarm calling at each other. Nothing like a leopard or a lion wandering straight through, but of course there's still the mystery of where Tingana went to be solved. Now, that was my initial thought. And off we go, using the spotlight to illuminate any reflective eyes that might be staring back at us. I'm still trying to crack the Djuma nighttime drive. I'm trying to work out where the best place is to go searching for some of our more mysterious animals. I've been trying to do that based on tracks and to figure out exactly where they've been walking or what they've been up to. It's a bit more tricky than it sounds though, because you get their tracks absolutely everywhere. I often wonder about Zoe's at this time of evening, just because I know from very practical experience, having fallen into one, that there are lots and lots of aardvark burrows there. I'm kind of hoping or working on the assumption that at some point, if I do that often enough, at some point I will successfully see an aardvark. Just by the way, in case you were wanting to be feeling a little bit jealous, Brent tells me that this morning, while he was staying at his parents' house, he went on a drive and then went for a walk and promptly encountered a leopard on foot, and then shortly afterwards the wild dog pack on foot. He's been having a marvelous time off in a reserve not too far away from Hoedspruit, where the introduced pack of wild dogs, because if you'll remember, the poor wild dog pack in that area contracted rabies, and actually the entire pack was wiped out, and the new pack has been introduced and is absolutely thriving. The female is heavily pregnant. Brent said she didn't so much sprint past him as sort of swish past him or slosh past him. So she's going to be denning any moment now and hopefully replenishing the population of wild dogs that had disappeared. On that happy note, we come now to the end of our portion of the Sunset Safari. Thank you, Brian, for all of your fantastic camera work, and naturally, as the thumb reminds us, a very happy Canada Day to all of you in that part of the world. Thank you to our lovely ladies in Final Control, and most importantly, thank you to all of you watching across the world, sending us through the info, the questions, and just generally enjoying each other's company. Have a fantastic day. We'll catch you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
We have just turned back onto Djuma, everybody, and yes, not much has happened since we last saw you, except we did go through the two great valleys where David and I behaved like small children, and we made loud whooping sounds as we went down and up the other side. Didn't we, David? Yes. It was great fun. Quite glad there wasn't an animal in the bottom of the drainage line. There is the duiker, but unfortunately we cannot look at the duiker at night. Margaret, I will do my level best to find your bush baby. I did see one at Cheetah Plains, then I couldn't find it again. I just saw its eyes flashing in the bushes, but then it disappeared. Maybe we'll be lucky. We've had excellent bush baby sightings of late. Yes, James Dungan, were I a very wealthy landowner, it would be wonderful to have a safari lodge called Hendry's Haven. I think my father would thoroughly improve, and I think he would approve, not improve, and I think he'd spend most of his life there, actually. I think that's a great idea, James Dungan. Any idea where I can get hold of such a place? I still think that Nkoro is a rather good name for a lodge. David thinks it's utterly hilarious. He is unable to contain himself. This is round about where we were looking for Karuda earlier on. I don't think she's going to pop out here. I think she's got a kill somewhere to the west of Treehouse Dam. So we'll pop down there in the morning and see if she doesn't pitch up. Another great valley we're going through here. The valley of the Treehouse Dam drainage line. Hold on, David. It's hot down here in the valleys and cold up in the mountain tops where we dwell. It's actually quite the opposite. The katabatic flow out here has rendered the air in the drainage lines very cold compared with the air in the rest of the place. Like I say, it is the most pleasant evening. I can't believe how warm it is. I suspect it's a harbinger of some frightful weather to come. Margaret, we've only got a minute left, and I'm afraid I cannot find a bush baby, but I'm still trying, I promise. Can you see a bush baby anywhere, David? No, no bush babies, Margaret. Sorry about that. There's a moth, though. Right, that's going to be it from us, Margaret, and everybody else. Thank you very much for watching us today. A big thanks to Kirsten Max Smith in the final control with, I think Chelsea Byrne was helping her out today. Thanks for both of you. And a big thanks to all of you for your questions and comments. It's so nice to chat to you, especially on these drives. We don't necessarily have leopard cubs, but we have lots of interesting little things. Thank you, David, for your efforts today. And a big thank you to Jamie Patterson back in the saddle, being filmed, I think, by Brian. We'll see you tomorrow at 06:30. Bye-bye.